Mission.
Hi, this is Joel Persinger. I'm the Gun Guy. Thank you very much for all of your support, for watching my videos and supporting GunGuyTV. I'm very, very grateful that you do that. Please follow us on these other platforms that you can see, because we do have a lot of other places where the videos are distributed other than YouTube. And in case YouTube goes away, sometimes they do want to boot out gun channels, you'll be able to find us at any of these places. Also, if you have not already found a way to support GunGuyTV and you want to help us out, we really would appreciate that. You'll find a bunch of ways to do that in links in the description. Among them are our Patreon page, where we have live streams and podcasts and that kind of stuff. You can also sign up for Second Call Defense. They're a sponsor of ours, and everybody that signs up for them, we get a little commission from that. You can shop Amazon using our Amazon link, which costs you nothing, and we get some commission from that, and so on. So you find all those links in there. Please help yourself. All the support that you can provide is wonderful. It helps us buy equipment, upgrade software. Like we just bought Wirecast, which is about $700, and so that we could do a better job with live streams and that kind of stuff. So this stuff just costs money, and you're helping us out that way. Okay, enough about that. What I wanted to talk with you about today was the shooting that just happened in Florida, in which the Uber driver shoots a boyfriend of a guy who thinks his girlfriend is in the Uber but isn't. And the dude dies. And so it's an interesting story. It's not, I don't think, an uncommon one. It's a pretty simple story. The sheriff there did a press conference, did a wonderful job explaining it. So I'm going to let you watch the video of the sheriff's press conference, which is fairly short, but I think very informative. And then afterwards, I have some comments about it, specifically for you and I, as gun owners, when it comes to defending ourselves, some key points that he made, not just about that case, but also some key points that helped, I think, the Uber driver prove the fact that he was the law-abiding citizen here and the other guy was the knucklehead. So let's watch the video real quick, see if I can figure out how to do this with Wirecast. If I get it right, the video will come up, and as soon as that's done, I'll be back.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being with us this morning. We have 3 cases that we're going to talk to you about. The first one is of particular interest to me, and I think it should be to all of you as well. We know that whenever people have had too much to drink, we tell them, call a taxi or call Uber. Don't drink and drive. Well, this all started at a bar or a lounge on Highway 27 in Dundee, where a young lady obviously had way too much to drink. And her car was in the parking lot, and a patron and the bartender together said, hey, we got to get this lady home. She's in no condition to drive, so they called Uber. Uber arrives. The patron, the female patron in the bar, who we now know's name is Jessica, helps escort the lady we now know as Jasmine and put her into the Uber. The Uber driver leaves, and he is on his way taking her home in the vicinity of Winter Haven, Florida. You can see a conversation that occurs here during this period of time, and the conversation is between Jessica, who is at the bar, and her boyfriend, and you can tell they have a very rocky relationship here. And the boyfriend is explosive. He's stalking his girlfriend, he's angry with her, and he tells her, quote unquote, I'm going to F up the Uber driver. Now let's go back to the Uber driver. The Uber driver, knowing nothing about what's going on, because this conversation is between a guy we now know to be Jason Boak and his girlfriend, who's still at the bar. So it's a little confusing, but it's really simple. Jason thinks his girlfriend got into the Uber. He doesn't realize that Jason's girlfriend, Jessica, helped put Jasmine in the Uber. Now let me give you some more background. Neither Jasmine or Jessica or the Uber driver know each other. This is just traditional. I've had too much to drink. Uber driver wheels up. Jessica puts Jasmine in the Uber. Uber takes off toward Winter Haven. Goofball here, thinking his girlfriend is in the Uber, and you can see he texts. It's nice of him to text his intent, talks about what all he's going to do to the Uber driver. Uber driver obviously has no idea until a Ford F-250 pickup truck pulls right up on his bumper with bright lights. The Uber driver says, I wonder who this guy is. The tailgates him a minute, then he pulls out beside him, rides beside him a couple of seconds on 542 or the Dundee Road between Dundee and Winter Haven, and then starts to pass him and forces him to a stop in the roadway. When he does that, Jason jumps out of his F-250 pickup truck and says, "You know, I got a pistol. You want me to shoot you?" That was a terrible mistake on Jason's part, because the Uber driver not only happens to be a licensed to carry a firearm, concealed firearm in the state of Florida, but he just finished the police academy. So he understands the law. You will see the video in just a second. So when Jason jumps out of his truck after forcing him off of the road, is rapidly approaching him and saying, "I got a, what was it? I've got a pistol. You want me to shoot you?" He's holding a cell phone in his right hand coming up from his waist. When he does that, our shooter, Robert, who is an Uber driver, shoots him one time in the chest. And down he goes. Then Robert immediately, the Uber driver, calls 911. He talks in police lingo, by the way. "Hey, we need EMS, we need fire. I've shot one time. He threatened me." He tries to contain the bleeding, then he starts doing CPR, and you can hear as he gives a rendition about the suspect, Jason, breathing his last breath. Jasmine, who's in the back seat, so drunk she don't know Sikkim from come here. She hears all this after the fact, and we're in the process of downloading some video after the shooting's over where apparently she staggered out of the vehicle. But Jasmine doesn't know anything. She doesn't know the guy driving. She has no relationship with Jessica, who was just trying to be a good Samaritan. And at the end of the day, the message is clear. Don't mess with the Uber driver. Leave the Uber driver alone, because he just may be a certified police officer in waiting, and when you force him off of the road and threaten to shoot him with a gun while holding a cell phone in your right hand, which is a shiny object, in a second, you could get shot and killed. This is a justifiable homicide all day long. You have the right to protect yourself. This is a classic stand your ground case. A classic, and this was the intent of the law. Let me paraphrase. Uber driver's just doing his job. He has no clue in the world what's happening until a truck forces him off of the road. The guy jumps out and in seconds is on him saying, "I got a pistol, you want me to shoot you?" And he defends himself. Here's a message for the hotheads of the community. Don't do that stuff. Good people carry guns, and they will shoot you a lot. Graveyard dead. Leave people alone. It's a new day in the state of Florida and in the United States. You may be used to bullying people and being bigger and stronger and beating people up and slamming their heads into the pavement and pulling knives on them. I highly recommend that, against that. I highly recommend against that if you value your life. Because Jason here thought he'd get out and throw a little threat on the Uber driver, and I appreciate Jason giving us his criminal intent in advance in writing. It helps create a perfect stand your ground for the Uber driver, Robert Westlake. Any questions on this one?
Did he actually have a pistol on his person or in the car or at home?
We have not found a pistol in the car, but when he got out making those threats, and you'll see, let's look at the video. You'll get a clear, you'll see if after you have to look at it over and over, but understand the Uber driver is having to react real time, but you'll see how fast it happened and the fact that he had something in his right hand that Robert, the Uber driver, said after the fact, as I kicked it, thinking I'm kicking a gun out of the way, then I see it's a cell phone.
I say something? Oh my God. Oh my God. I didn't shoot you.
That's how fast it happens. That's how quick you've got to decide whether you want to live or die as the victim. And that's how fast these victims have to make those decisions. Can you back that up, Matt, so you can see once again how quick it is?
I say something? Oh my God. Oh my God. I didn't shoot you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it goes without saying the Uber driver had a camera in his car. But you see how rapidly you have to make a decision of whether you live or whether you die. And I can tell you unequivocally, the Uber driver, Robert, did exactly the right thing to protect himself and ostensibly his passenger as well. Any other questions? We'll certainly make that available for y'all.
How do you pronounce Jason's last name?
Jason, I don't know. Boak, B-O-E-K. That's Polk County pronunciation.
All right.
So
I'm gonna go with
that is subject to modification by someone who may have a different interpretation being the family, but we call him Boak. Johnson Boak broke the law and he stands no more. Was not a good decision on his part. Oh, he was a barber at one time. And this picture is flattering compared to how bad he looked that night rolling out of that truck. Leave people alone. They may have a gun and shoot you.
That's an incredible video to me because it explains a lot about why we need to elect, first of all, pro-Second Amendment and pro-self-defense sheriffs and pro-Second Amendment and pro-self-defense district attorneys or Commonwealth attorneys or whatever you got in your area. But he mentioned some other things I thought was interesting, too. First of all, I love that sheriff. I wish I could clone that guy and make him sheriff everywhere. What a great press conference. He pulled no punches and said exactly the way he felt about the whole thing. Leave good people alone. They may shoot you a lot. I thought that was great. But here's some other things, too, that I thought were interesting. He mentioned he was impressed by the fact that the Uber driver had just finished the police academy. Now, look, not all of us are going to the police academy. I know I'm not. However, I think I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I'd love to know what you think about this. But the first thing that hit me was, that means to the law enforcement, that guy had a lot of training. He went to the trouble to get trained. I wanted to be a police officer. But I wonder how it would go for me. You know, I'm a state licensed instructor for security officers. I own a company to do that, and I'm a state licensed firearms instructor. I'm an NRA certified law enforcement firearms instructor. I'm an NRA certified civilian instructor in various different disciplines. I'm a concealed carry instructor for the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. I've been trained up the wazoo. I've got certificates from all the various different training places, Front Sight and et al. I wonder if having that kind of training is a benefit when law enforcement looks at you or the DA looks at you, or is it a detriment? I come from the angle, I think it's a benefit to show that you are conscientious and you went out and got yourself well trained. The other thing I've noticed, too, is that guy's going to be an exceptional cop, because a lot of cops now just keep pressing the trigger a million times. He shot the guy one time and obviously put the round right where it needed to go, because the knucklehead from the truck went down, did not get back up again. Here's the other thing I thought was interesting. As an Uber driver, it makes a lot of sense to me that he had a dash cam and apparently had a camera in the car in case somebody accused him of something that he didn't do. He had obviously audio and video to defend himself with. And we can't, we're not going to all walk around as civilians with body cams or whatever. But the fact that the dash cam camera was on there, I thought was very, very interesting. I know a lot of people who do that now. I have not done that. But, in case you get an altercation on the side of the road and it happens in front of your car or whatever, that might not be a bad thing to have. I don't know. I'm curious what your thoughts are where that's concerned. The other thing is that at the end of the whole confrontation, the Uber driver tried to render first aid to the man he had just shot. He tried to stop the bleeding and put pressure on it. He tried CPR. He did these things while on the phone with law enforcement, trying to render first aid to the man he just shot. And then I kind of ask myself there, is that a good thing to do? Okay, so here's my opinion, and I could be completely off base here, and this is why I want to know what you think. In my opinion, training is a good thing if you get good quality training, and it's training that law enforcement respects. For example, you've gone to the National Rifle Association, you've gone to Gun Sight, Front Sight, Thunder Ranch, you've gone to something along those lines. You've taken or you've taken a course from an instructor that has a law enforcement history, that you can demonstrate this guy or gal, they're the real deal. And so you have a certificate and you can show that you were very diligent in receiving the instruction that you received. I have a friend who just went through the course at the local community college for PC 832, which in California is the powers to arrest that a police officer has. And he went ahead and took the PC 832 firearms course as well. I don't think he really needs it, but he did it anyway because he thought that's going to be a great course. And it is a good course. So he went and took it at the community college, and he got to shoot, and he got some training, got some real, basically, the beginnings of law enforcement training taught by a retired police officer. And you get a cert that says that you completed this training under California Post, Police Officer Standards and Training. You don't have to be a police officer to take it. So he did. And I've actually taken that course because I had to take it as a bail bondsman. I had to complete those courses as a bail bondsman. So I've taken those courses as well, and they are excellent. So I think training is a great thing, and I think it's something that demonstrates to law enforcement and to prosecutors that we're diligent. We want to be diligent with what we do. The camera, I think, is interesting. I don't know that would apply all the time, but so many times we see cameras showing this angle or that angle. In this particular case, I think the camera made the case for self-defense for the Uber driver. So sometimes that video with audio, where you could hear the guy threatening the Uber driver, it wasn't the Uber driver's word for it. You could see it on video. And I think the other thing that's a question is, do you stay and attempt to render first aid, to render some basic first aid, whatever you're trained to do, whether that's CPR or basic first aid from the American Heart Association or Red Cross or whatever? Do you stay and do that, and is that positive? In this case, all of those things were pluses in the mind of this sheriff, who obviously is pro-Second Amendment anyway and wanted to make a very big point about stand your ground, since so many people get uppity about the stand your ground law. And he wanted to point out, no, this is precisely the type of situation that law was written for, to protect the citizen, to protect the civilian, and that's what it was written for. And this is a classic case of self-defense. As he said, it's a justifiable homicide all day long. Well, those happen all around the country. In California, where I live, we don't have a stand-your-ground law. We do have a castle doctrine law, but we don't have a stand-your-ground law, but many states do, and it's under attack all the time. So let me know what you think about those things, the things that I picked up from that. The training component, the camera on your car at least, I thought that was interesting, or maybe around the outside of your house or wherever you think you might be in trouble. You can't take one with you all the time. I suppose you could, but I wouldn't be reaching for your cell phone if you're in that pickle. I'd be reaching for a gun and just hoping it's on camera somewhere. The attempt to render first aid or some kind of aid to the person you've just shot full of holes. And then, obviously, wherever possible, if you're in a jurisdiction where you have the option when it comes time to vote, actively help pro-Second Amendment people get elected. In my little town, I have a very pro-Second Amendment mayor and a very conservative mayor, and I'm actively trying to help him get reelected because he affects as mayor and city council members. I'm actively trying to get my city council member reelected as well. They affect the mind and thinking of the police chief since he is the mayor. They are the city council. So sometimes they can affect how things are looked at by law enforcement within the city in which you live. As far as your county is concerned, electing that pro-Second Amendment or at minimum pro-self-defense sheriff will get a sheriff like this guy looking at the case going, yeah, you know what, that was self-defense and we don't need to do anything with that guy. And electing a pro-self-defense district attorney or Commonwealth attorney, those are the things that are going to save your bacon if you're fortunate that you have all this evidence like this Uber driver did, or even if you're not fortunate to have all the evidence, it's obvious to the most casual of observers that you're the law-abiding citizen and the person that you shot was the criminal or the knucklehead. So those are my thoughts on that video. I watched it and I thought, this is a very good one for self-defense. I'm sorry that a man had to die to produce it, but that was his own foolishness at work there, and it was a very poor decision on his part, and he got himself shot and killed. So I think the sheriff is exactly right. The lesson for the criminal is leave good people alone. They might just shoot you a lot. And many of them are carrying guns around the country, even in the state of California, believe it or not, where most counties you can get a concealed carry permit. It's just the big city counties that are tough. But I think there's also some lessons for you and I as people who carry guns or have guns at home or would use a firearm to defend ourselves, and that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. So let me know what you think in the comments. I'd really be interested to hear your thoughts on it. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great week. I do have some review videos that have already been shot. I just got to get them edited, one of which is on the turning target that I got from Triumph Systems. That was actually sent to me by Optics Planet. And then I've got one that I'm going to shoot this next week, which is on the laser guard laser from Crimson Trace for my Smith & Wesson M&P shield. And then I got a really neat tactical light that's a kind of that I'd never heard of the company before, but I've done a video on that as well. So those are all coming up in the next few days. Stay tuned. They should be loaded as soon as I get a chance to sit down and edit them. Have a great holiday weekend, and thank you again for watching. Please be safe.